Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Invest Midlands. My name's Sam Metcalf. I'm the Midlands editor at thebusinessdesk.com, and welcome to our final session of the day. We're going to try and go out with a bang today by asking, how can the Midlands sell itself to the world? And the visitor economy should be a real strength of the Midlands. From culture, sport, history and business tourism, there's a varied and vibrant offer. But after the pandemic, how does the sector re-emerge stronger and reconnect with the millions of visitors it's ready to welcome? We've got a good panel today who can hopefully answer this big question. So I'd like to, sorry Fiona, I'd like to ask them all to introduce themselves to you now. Can I start with you please, Mark?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Mark Davies, and I head up all things kind of business related at Leicester Tigers Rugby Club, mainly focusing on revenue streams and you know, the development of the club, you know, outside of our immediate kind of footprint, wider a piece, and obviously we're a pretty well-known brand that spans outside really. So there's a lot of international pieces that fall under my remit as such.
Thanks, Mark. Fiona.
Yes, I'm Fiona Allen. I'm Artistic Director and Chief Executive of Birmingham Hippodrome, which is in itself a big draw to both, you know, day visitors and overnight visitors to the city. But also about a year ago, I picked up the chair of the newly formed tourism board for the West Midlands Combined Authority area, which was, you know, met just as we went into a pandemic. So that's been a very interesting journey so far.
A bit more about that today. We've lost Ian, but we're still waiting for Sara. Hopefully they'll join us in a second. Fiona, yours is an interesting journey then. Would you say that the Midlands has fallen behind when creating a cultural or tourism offer to the world in recent years?
I think that's a tough one to answer really, because compared to what exactly? I mean, you know, and which part of the Midlands are you talking about? The Midlands, of course, isn't the brand that we would ever put forward in a public-facing sort of way. It's not the term that we would use. It's just a geographic area. If you look at Stratford, you know, that's an incredible cultural tourism offer. It's, you know, the whole town is based on cultural tourism, but it's not uniform across the geographic area. And we of course have Coventry City of Culture, which has just started on the 15th of May, so just a couple of weeks ago, kicking off right now, which I'm sure once we know what's happening past 21st of June, you know, I'm sure we'll start to attract visitors into the region. And then next year, the Commonwealth Games, obviously, which will have a huge cultural program attached to all the sporting events. Speaking for Birmingham, we do have a lot of cultural events that attract visitors, whether it's Birmingham Pride, whether it's specific shows at the Hippodrome. I mean, for our pantomime, people travel from all over the country to come to that. And now big international draws like Carlos Acosta at Birmingham Royal Ballet, or Miaga just has re-signed a contract with the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. These are big international names. So are we underperforming? I don't know, because I don't know what you're comparing us to. What I can say is we've got some massive assets, and I think these major international events that are happening in the next 2 years will give us you know, the ability to transform the way the world thinks of us.
Ian, I just could you introduce yourselves, Ian? Sorry, you're back with us now.
Yeah, of course. Hi everyone, my name's Ian Taylor. I'm the managing director of the NEC Group's conventions and exhibitions business, which from a venue point of view means I look after the NEC, the ICC and the Box. Obviously part of the NEC Group, which includes the Utilita Arena, Results World Arena, our catering company Amadeus, and our ticketing business, the Ticket Factory. So we welcome about 7 million visitors a year to our venues across the piece.
Thanks, Ian. We're still hoping to get Sara Blair-Manning from Nottingham Castle Trust to join us. But Ian, if I could come to you, really, how was the last 12 months must have been hard for you. Could you just explain what you've been through, really, and have there maybe been opportunities to take stock for the future?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been a devastating period for the whole of the live event sector, and as the UK's leading venue management company, we've been right in the thick of that. So it has been a really difficult period. Clearly, events haven't been operating. We've been doing everything we can to make sure we get through it, and staying close to our customers, and really just making sure we're prepared for when the day comes, and hopefully it's not too far off now, that start line of being able to run events again. Because I've got no doubt that what we do collectively, that face-to-face environment, there's a huge demand for it. And in the context of today's conversation, events are catalysts for change and how people perceive and portray a place and a destination. But it's been an incredibly difficult period. Of course it has, as it has been for so many people and so many businesses. But hopefully we're not too far off the point now where we can get back to doing what we do and rebuild our business, and in doing so start attracting visitors back to the region as well.
Thanks, Ian. And Mark, you're similar but different, aren't you? Leicester Tigers have carried on playing, but nobody's been allowed to go and watch.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting kind of comment. I think certainly all sports clubs have become retail businesses, and content producers kind of amplified over the last 12 months. And it's not a bad thing. Clearly there's the devastation that fundamentally, a bit like Ian, said there, we're over skewed as being an event business in terms of our brand per se as such. And what it has done as the eternal optimist in me has allowed us to kind of take stock of what we are now, what we want to become, what we have to become, and how do we build on the other pieces of our armory, so we aren't so dependent on something that happens every 2 weeks at Mattioli Woods, Welford Road, really. So kind of coming out of it, the view is, if we've got this bit lined up with the bonus of supporters coming back and building on the tradition that or hopefully the honeymoon that comes with having supporters back and prolonging that piece that they've missed, that it could be a perfect storm at some point moving forward, while we come out of this and kind of recoup clearly what we've lost beforehand, and pivot into the new world that is a sports team in 2021 and beyond.
Fiona, again, similar but different. Do you think there's pent-up demand for people to get back to the Hippodrome now?
We're seeing that. Our audiences are certainly seeing that, showing us that in all the research that we've done. We've managed the last 15 months to open for just 24 days in October. And we did that without being a theatre. We had to completely rethink what we could do safely and socially distanced, and took all the seats out in our auditorium, built a huge stage out, and actually have a digital immersive exhibition of Van Gogh's works on our stage. And the demand, even back in October, which of course was pre-vaccination and heading into a difficult winter, we could safely have more than 1,600 people through the venue in a day on timed entries and maximum capacities. And we're seeing this huge thirst for people to go out and have a cultural experience. And we just yesterday reopened with that. We don't see ourselves being back to being a theatre with people sitting in seats next to each other until sometime in August, because we're, like everyone else, waiting to see what the guidance is going to be and what restrictions may continue to be in place for us. But yeah, it's been a massive change. And for an organisation like ours, which doesn't receive any ongoing government subsidy at all, we earn all our own income, just meant our income stream stopped overnight. There was nothing.
And I guess that not only have you had to change, but your customers have now changed, your clients, your visitors have now changed, Fiona. What do you think they want now that they did maybe not, a year ago, a decade ago? That everything has changed, hasn't it? But how has this last 15 months changed?
And like I'm sure everyone in the room, we learned to do a lot digitally. We probably did, I read a McKinsey report the other day saying that in the last year, most companies have gone through about 7 years of digital acceleration, and we certainly did. We're probably not doing things we couldn't have done 10 years ago, but we never had a need to. So we were, selling tickets to the broadcasts and, pushing things out online and doing a lot of our workshops and education online. So we still reached 850,000 people through ticketed engagements and that sort of thing that we want to keep now. So I'm anticipating that audiences will love to come back to have theatre and a shared experience of live performance, because nothing beats that. But I think they're going to want a choice. And I think many of us will continue to exist in a sort of a hybrid model where we're offering things that can be consumed at home on demand, as well as in-person experiences. And so we don't want to drop what we've learned how to do digitally. We want to be able to do that in addition to having more than 500,000 people sit in seats in a year. I mean, that to me is the way audiences are going.
Thanks, Fiona. Ian, is that more difficult to do with mass audience events like you have in certain venues on your campus?
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty of our business is we host so many different types of events. Everything from concerts through to business trade shows and exhibitions. I think what we've seen is that digital has been the uptake on digital has been more prevalent in certain types of event. But I think more broadly, just to a certain extent, echoing what Fiona was saying, we are absolutely confident that there is pent-up demand for face-to-face. We're seeing that in the research that we're undertaking in all of our customer segments. That ability to gather and to whether it's to be entertained, to learn, to have a cultural experience, to do business, is so much more powerful face-to-face. But I think what's really evident is that kind of digital acceleration that's taken place over the last 12 to 15 months. The conversation now is about how you bring the two together, and rather than just talking to an audience or a community during a physical event, how as an organizer, and to a certain extent as a kind of a host of events in a venue, how can you keep that conversation going all year round almost? So it's this kind of phrase omni-channel, which is very, very popular in the event industry at the minute, and it probably means different things to different people. But I think it's how digital then enables and complements that face-to-face experience is certainly something that has accelerated, and I think will only continue to do so.
You mentioned earlier about being a content creator and having to keep in touch with with the fans and with the people who use the stadium. Just going to go into a little bit more detail about how you've done that, and what have you learned from people as you've been doing that?
Yeah, and I think for us, so we've been on this alive for 140 years, and we're quite a historic and traditional rugby club, really, and certainly one that's underperformed in the last few years, and kind of right at the start of lockdown, there was a real pulling back and looking at what you do, each individual line as a business, and the outcome for the input and things like that. And actually, we made a big decision just to be honest with our supporters around where we were as a business and what we were trying to do. What we found and been humbled, and I'm guessing it's the same for it is the nature of people in your business, and how not accepting, but there are people that left their money in the club and things that they didn't have to when they've got their own crisis. That is incredibly humbling for us as a business. And then, you look at the activity that we do since, and the regular communication, all of this digital piece. And actually we sit here today far closer to our supporters, our consumers and bits and around that piece from where we kind of went into this situation, really. And then you look at kind of what we've done as a club, whether it's supporter forums, whether it's we did a virtual pizza night and things like that. The challenge then is exactly how we come out of this, because Fiona's exactly right. There will be a hybrid of both of these, because sport's on all the time, and it's great from a mental bit. Being able to see my team on a Saturday is brilliant, but I don't half miss the stadium piece that kind of comes with it. Or, I'm watching music and I don't half miss that piece. So I can go to, and that will come back, and our job is to keep them engaged on that piece. But what does Monday to Friday look like, and what do we keep on, and how do we carry on? And how do we really make sure that we come out this better for the longer as such, really? So that's the challenge that we will have coming out of this, just what we continue to keep going. How do we build on it? Because at the start, cash in mind back when everyone was doing Zoom quizzes, and we're bloody sick of them now, aren't we? And that is the challenge of what's coming out of this and what we keep moving forward.
We talked about how you keep in touch with your clients. What about your staff, Fiona? I guess people working from the Hippodrome, they've got a real stake in it, haven't they? I guess. And
yeah, they really do. And yes. Sorry, Sam, I interrupted.
That's okay. How have you managed to keep in touch with them and keep them going throughout the last year?
It's been really difficult, and we actually lost 50% of our permanent staff to redundancy. So we've had a massive shock to our to the staff team. And then I would say of the 50% remaining, half have been working at least part-time or part furloughed, and half have been on full furlough for nearly a year, over a year now. So that did create massive divisions between the people who were working and the people who were furloughed. People who felt that they were in touch with the organisation and engaged with what was going on, even when it was really difficult, and those who were, effectively on gardening leave. Lots of, staff quizzes, back to the quizzes, but, I never need to do another quiz, like you said, Mark. There's some social things that had been organised as could be, and lots of at a staff conference, video messaging from me. They're all sick of my face now. I think they don't want to see me again. I was doing video messages every couple of weeks and sending them out to keep people up to date. But yeah, it really tough time for staff.
Yeah. In a lot of your big events, aren't they? They're big, and they've got a long lead time. How have you managed to balance the sort of need for staff to work on them without knowing if they're actually going to go ahead or not?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Simon. It's one of the key challenges, and like Fiona and like so many businesses, we unfortunately lost an awful lot of our people through a redundancy process. Essentially, what we've been trying to do throughout is stay close to our customers and stay close to our colleagues. We've had to take some really difficult decisions, which I think you have to communicate and talk to people about why you're doing that. But the lead time issue is a really key one, because we've rescheduled, I think, well over 1,000 events now in the last 15 months across our group and our venues. But it is about making sure that we've got the resource in place to deliver what our promise is to our customers. And that's about understanding what our customers need, understanding the challenges that our customers have, and just every day making sure that we're balancing that equation. How do we deliver for our customers, when their events are, and without clarity on when the start date is going to come? But at the same time, make sure that we're managing our own cash and finance challenges that so many businesses are. So I don't think there's any secret to that. I think it's just about being open and honest and communicating as well as you can, and recognising that it's a bumpy road, actually.
Thanks, Ian. Just very quickly, I'll go around. Are you all confident that things you'll be able to open up on the 21st to the public, Mark?
I am today. About 9 o'clock yesterday, when Leicester went back into lockdown via a website thing, I wasn't so sure. But I think you've got to stay optimistic, haven't you, really? And I see no reason why we wouldn't. Now we've kind of come so far and gotten ahead of ourselves. And it's amazing that we've been planning for this day since, I think, March the 24th last kind of year, really. It's there's a real big mental piece around the stop-start nature, certainly of all our businesses, when we went into lockdown thinking it was the end of last season and then the start of the new season we'd have. And that's the hardest bit, just to build on the previous question around that, is keeping staff honest with what's going on, but keeping their mental state there, because the stop-start nature of all of our businesses has a real effect on people. And you like to say, we're wholly positive that we will get back there, or certainly be open up for when our season starts September 17th with a full Mattioli Woods Welford Road, because it's that important. But the most frustrating bit is just the stop-start nature of the whole thing.
Just on that point, Sam, I think the difference between now and last year is that, through that engagement with government, we have, I think, made a lot of progress in helping government and the scientists understand that these environments are very closely risk managed. And the risk involved in reopening our businesses for certain types of events and certain types of activity with the right mitigations in place, I think, is far better understood now than it was even 6 months ago, actually. So I'd echo what Mark said about level of confidence. If we're permitted to open, we'll be open on the 21st of June.
Good stuff. And you, Fiona?
Sorry, Sara, I was just going to mention that all we were asking for kind of at the start was that roadmap out of it. And now that's kind of been revealed. That's put a lot of a lot of work in process, and that's all we've asked for. And like like he literally just said, then we know what we have to do. We're ready to do it, and we'll be there as soon as they give us the green light.
And you, Fiona?
Well, we are reopened with the Van Gogh Alive exhibition, which is socially distanced. Book your tickets at birminghamhippodrome.com. It'll be running through mid-July. So after June the 21st, if we're permitted, we can up the numbers to encourage more people to attend. We are really reliant, though, on when we return to being a theatre mid-August, is planned on being able to seat 1,850 people in a theatre. So bring on that June the 21st date. But for all of us who deal in the sort of mass congregation of people, we need clear guidance for how that's going to happen and what that mitigation is going to be. All those big test events have been concluded now, or nearly concluded, and we're just waiting for the guidance for the roadmap.
Yeah. There's a good question from Mark on the side there. Does the panel feel their organisations are stronger for what they've endured? Ian, can I come to you on that?
That is a good question. I think in certain areas, yes, in terms of resilience and ability to operate in a different way, and to try and open up revenue streams that perhaps weren't revenue streams for us previously. But I think for us, the key is about how we rebuild our business now, and that is about the return of live events. I'd say we are stronger in terms of being closer to a lot of our customer base. And some of those challenging conversations that we've all had have probably brought us out the other side of it in a stronger position. So I think we are well placed now from a rebuild perspective. But is it a 12 months I'd want to go through again? Probably not.
No. Fiona?
Yes, I think as a team, we're much stronger, those that remain. Our relationship with our board is much stronger, and they're much more informed group than they were a year ago. And our loyal customers have really stood with us. We have to thank them for that, because through donations and even just messages, we'd get sent messages and cards of encouragement and that sort of thing from people who missed us, and that kept us going through the year. So. Yeah, and we've had to duck and dive such a lot. We've become very nimble and very lateral thinking, and those are all good things. But yeah, I could have done without it.
That's the understatement of the day.
Yeah.
Mark.
Again, I think the word resilience cannot be overused in this sort of thing. We've all had dark days and kind of soul search within ourselves, and I think we're all coming out with smaller teams that are more agile, but everybody has had to look at themselves and get dirty as well. There's people that have almost retrained as stewards on a match day because they're doing sponsorship sales because they're retrained to save money from our end, but in all the other bits that come with it. I think there's a real appreciation for what everybody does in the business now, whether that's playing side, first team, down to the maintenance people that are around, really. So I can't help but feel that yes, we're resilient, but definitely stronger coming out of this.
Good to hear. We're talking about trying to get people to come to the events as tourists, business tourists. You all have globally renowned brands. What's your message, Ian? What's your plan, rather, to get the message out there, to get people coming along to the NEC?
Yeah, I think it is about giving people reassurance that we're open for business. As I said earlier, once we're able to say that, that events are being delivered in an incredibly safe way, and that it's safe to come back and have those live event experiences that people value so much. So I think we are starting to see that. I think one of the really positive signs over the last few months actually is we are now seeing business inquiries continually increasing month on month. Which I think is really positive. But it is about just making sure that we get out there with that message and re-engage all of our customer bases and all of our audiences, and just say, we're open for business. It's safe to come back. These are incredibly well-managed, safe environments that we all operate. Experiences and have confidence that you can do that as well. And I think, as I say, there is quite a lot of pent-up demand for that. So once we do get up and running, I'm looking forward to that wave of audiences coming back into our venues.
Hey Mark, how are you How are you re-engaging?
Yeah, exactly the same, really. I think we've got the added stick of being in Leicester and the eternal city that never came out of lockdown and those sort of pieces that play out. So there's a lot of joint thinking with the local council and local businesses around kind of restarting Leicester as a city as such, really. But it is, fundamentally about the safety of our events and the protocol that's gone on and things like that. We played in a European final down at Twickenham last Friday, and in an 80,000 seat stadium, we had 10,000 people. Now, I sat there as safe as I've ever been at any place, thinking that could have been 30, 40,000 without getting too, bogged down in the egress and the other bits that you have to deal with, really. And I think I felt like that. And I think as soon as people take that initial leap, and, it's for us to guide them through that leap, they'll keep coming back and back and back, because there is, we will do everything we can to get them safely there, to reassure them, because that's what we do. We're events businesses, and that's what we've been crying out for the guidance for, isn't it?
Yeah, is this a good opportunity to sort of engage with a whole new audience, perhaps?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think, for all of us, we all engage with our own visitors, but the message we have to be putting out there is just to encourage those visitors to stay, to turn day trippers into overnighters, or overnighters into whole weekenders, because people may be coming to one of our venues for a particular reason, but we need to be on selling them a whole package of things. If someone's driving 2 hours to come to a show at the Hippodrome and staying the night, the next day to go to Warwick Castle or visit Stratford, or go to visit, Black Country Living Museum and see where Peaky Blinders is filmed. I mean, there's such a diversity of an offer across, I'm speaking more for the West Midlands, that all of us, I think, have to be on message with that and encouraging people to stay and to just sample more. Speaking of sampling, 10 Michelin-starred restaurants isn't bad either. You can have a very foodie trip to the Midlands as well. And I think all these things are underplayed. But if we're not the ones to play it up, who is? We all need to be supporting and encouraging each other, and encouraging our own visitors to interact with the other attractions.
Thank you, Fiona. We'll finish with a real bang. Let's try to. Ian, what's your main message to national and international visitors who are coming to the Midlands? Fingers crossed, post June the 21st. Why are we so great?
I'm not sure I can summarise that in 30 seconds, but I'll give it a go. I think, for me, the Midlands and all of the places within it, it really is a place where there's something for everybody. And, it's whether it's retail, whether it's business tourism, whether it's cultural tourism, food tourism, sport, whatever it might be. The depth of the offer here is just absolutely astonishing. So I think the message would be, come and experience it. If you haven't been before, you'll be absolutely wowed by it. If you have been before, come back, because it continues to change and continues to evolve. And I think the plea from me would be, we all need to keep painting a picture of a future that all of our visitors and investors and events and everything else that are going to continue to drive the economy of our region can see themselves in. So, I think it's really simple to say, it's much harder to do, but I think we've made huge strides in the last 10, 15 years, and particularly in the last 5 years. And we've got tons of opportunity coming down the line as well. So let's make sure we take advantage of it.
What about you?
Well, and I think I'll let Ian have my 30 seconds. I think it was far better than I could summarise it all. But I think it is that accessibility point. And I think the fact that there is such a diverse range that was, you are 2 hours from virtually 90% of England and such. So that brings you can fly in and go, you can take the train. Nothing is out of the bounds of people for that point of view. And there is such a breadth. And I think right at the start, I think we talked about we're really strong in silos, but weak as a collective. That's modern world in everywhere. Then I think that's the piece. If we get it right, this you go from city to rural in 10 minutes. You can drive in there, and that's just the variety is there. just stay longer and take more in when those people do come. And I think with my sport hat on, certainly, you know, when I look at cities that we have, you know, within Nottingham, Leicester, Birmingham, you have top flight, world-class sporting teams in every sport that you can play in the UK, from rugby ourselves into, you know, obviously the football in the Premier League, ice hockey in Nottingham. So actually, from an entertainment point of view, to bolt on, of course, to the NEC and go into the Hippodrome, there's that piece that's there for everybody that you just wouldn't get elsewhere, per se.
Thanks, Mark. Fiona, the last word to you.
It's all been said. I mean, here we are, top flight, world-class, global brands, easily accessible, and it's a matter of, you know, come here and stay longer. It's all here for you. There is just, you know, an overwhelming amount to celebrate in the Midlands, and we all have to join up to sell ourselves better. Thanks,
Fiona. Well, listen, thank you all for your time today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I really, you know, fingers crossed for the 21st. I hope to come to all of your venues post then, because I, like everybody else, are dying to get out there. Yeah. So thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having